All right, this week we are talking about two of my favorite areas of psychology, personality theory and social psychology. And the reason these go together is both of these fields are trying to explain why people act the way that they do. In personality theory, we're trying to explain that based on your own internal elements that cause you to react to a situation in a certain way or cause you to evaluate a situation in a certain way. Whereas in social psychology, we're looking at the social cues around you, right? And this can be the people immediately close to you, your friend group, your coworkers, your family, but it can also be bigger picture social groups, the media that you consume, um, organizations that you're involved in, things of that nature. And it's explaining the influence of those social groups on why you behave the way that you do. Usually, whenever people are interested in psychology, they're interested in it for one of two reasons. One is the exact things we're talking about this week about explaining behaviors and how can we change those behaviors, right? Because if we can explain it and we know what's going on, can we change it? Or the study of disorders, which we'll get to later this semester. But so we're pairing together social psychology and personality psychology this week. Now, these videos are going to be required for one reason. I'm not just going to repeat everything in both of these chapters to you. A lot of these concepts are pretty self-explanatory, especially at the intro level. Now, you can take an entire class on social psychology. You can take an entire class on personality psychology. I've never gotten to teach either of those, and I've always wanted to. But you can take entire classes on it and dig into these in a much more complicated way. But at the intro level, these are all pretty self-explanatory. So I don't feel like I need to just sit here and rehash every term for you. But what I am going to do is one thing that I've noticed when I teach upper level classes, there's a lot of terms that are misunderstood from the get-go or that are used wrong, right? They're important psychological terms that are misused. So I'm going to correct some of those terms that I hear being used wrong quite a bit when we get into more upper level classes, because I teach a lot of required classes, so you will see me again. So we're just going to go ahead and correct some of those now. So that's why this series of videos will be required viewing. I'm going to do the keywords in the videos, so make sure you go in and write them down because you'll have to put them in to unlock your quizzes and things like that. But yeah, so you will have to view these just because I want to make sure that some terms are not confused right from the get-go. The other thing that I wanted to point out is in terms of classes that you might enjoy, if you enjoyed this, there is a social psych class here. There is a personality psych class here. I don't teach either of those. Um, but also one thing in the personality section that it gets into quite a bit is this idea of narcissism and how a narcissistic personality can influence a lot of different things about your behavior. I do teach two classes where we go over some of that information. I teach psychopathology or abnormal psychology, which is the study of disorders, and we do talk about narcissism and other personality disorders. And then I also teach a class on the psychology of family and domestic violence. That is a pet project of mine. That is an area I love, both in terms of personal and professional advocacy. I talk a little bit about my story whenever I teach that class. But we get into the influence of some narcissistic personality traits and personality disorders and how that can impact family and domestic violence. So if when you get to the personality section, if that is something that you think, ooh, I would love to go off on a tangent about that, definitely look into psychopathology, abnormal psychology, and look into that psych of family and domestic violence class. So that's going to be my intro to what we're talking about, and I will get started on the series of videos that's going to clarify some commonly misused terms. So watch all of these and make sure you have a pen handy if you're watching this for one of my classes where it's required. If you've just stumbled upon it and find it interesting, obviously that doesn't apply to you. But if you're watching it for one of my classes, have a pen handy and take notes on those keywords because you will need them to unlock this week's quiz.